Hi friends, this is our Srinivas, second CEC from TTWREIS Adilabad. Today our topic is commerce. In commerce, I should explain to you the branches of commerce. Commerce in our day-to-day life, it is very important object. Commerce means the exchange of goods and services among two or more parties, and the commerce is the commerce is the part of business which is concerned with the among the peoples between two or more. In commerce, there are two types: trade and aids to trade. Trade is a branch of commerce. It connects with buying and selling of goods and services. An individual who does trade is called a trader. A trader can only transfer goods from producer to consumer. He can earn profit by undertaking this activity. In trade, there are basically two types: home trade and foreign trade. Home trade. Home trade. Home trade is also known as domestic trade and internal trade. Home trade is carried on within the boundaries of a nation. Both buyer and seller belongs to the same country, and in home trade the cost of transport is less. And for example, one buyer from Delhi and one seller from Andhra, there is distribution of goods and services in country is known as home trade. In home trade, there are two types: wholesale trade and retail trade. Wholesale trade, it implies buying and selling of goods in a large quantities. In wholesale trade, who engage themselves in wholesale trade are called wholesalers. There is a connecting link between producers to the consumers. And retail trade. Retail trade, it implies the buying and selling of goods in a small quantities. Traders who engage in retail trade are called retailers. And there is a connecting link between producer to consumer, and it is the final stage of the distribution of goods and services. Second one, foreign trade. Foreign trade is also known as external trade or international trade. It implies buying and selling of goods and services among two or more countries, is known as foreign trade. For example, a buyer from Africa and one seller from New Zealand, there is a distribution of goods and services among two or more countries. In foreign trade, the foreign currency is haven, and the cost of transportation is very high. In foreign trade, basically there are three types: export trade, import trade, entry port trade. Export trade means it implies the buy goods to the foreign countries is known as export trade. For example, India export tea to United Kingdom. And import trade. Import trade means purchase goods from another country is known as import trade. For example, India buy petrol from New Zealand. And third one, entry port trade. Entry port trade means buying goods from one country for the purpose of selling them to another country is known as entry port trade. And second one is aids to trade. Trade or exchange or distribution of goods and services involves several difficulties. Those difficulties are removed by auxiliaries. The auxiliaries known as aids to trade. In aids to trade includes transport, communication, warehousing, insurance, banking, advertising. Transport. Transport means there is a vast distance between center of production and center of consumption, which creates huge difficulty the difficulty is removed by transport. The transport such commodities like air, water and road. The foreign goods are transported by airways and shipways, and the roadways goods are distributed by trains, buses, etc. And second one is communication. Communication means transmission or exchange information from one person to another person. It can oral be in writing. It is necessary to make arrangements for information from one to another. There are so many types of communications like verbal communication, non-verbal communication. In verbal communication there are two types: oral communication and written communication. Oral communication means we express our views by speaking to one, and written communication means we express our views in the form of written. And second, there are some commodities like communication, teleconference, email, video conference, etc. There are so many communications skills to express our views. Second one is warehousing. Warehousing is nothing but there is a time gap between production and consumption. In other words, goods which are produced at one time, they not consumed completely at the same time, because it becomes they are under in the storage of warehouses. When they get demand, then the people it buys. For example, umbrella in woolen class, they are yearly throughout the year, but they are demanded by only particular seasons like rainy and winter seasons. And fourth one is insurance. Insurance reduces the problem of risk, and it is a business is subject to risk and uncertainties. And there are so many types of insurance like life insurance, fire insurance, marine insurance, and vehicle insurance, health insurance. There are so many policies of insurance. And insurance reduces also problem of finance. And there are so many features of insurance like risk sharing device, risk payment device, and cooperative device, protective device, etc. And third one is banking. Bank solves the problem of finance. It provides short terms and long terms finance to the businessman. The businessman can pay amount in the bank and also receive amount from the bank. It is very risky to carry amount from one place to another place. Here comes there is a banking as solution. Bank provides such facilities to the customers, and bank gives so many loans to the customers in the form of like car loans, short term loans, medium term loans, long term loans, etc. And in banking there are so many functions like primary functions and secondary functions. In primary functions there are some accepting of deposits like saving deposit, current deposit, recurring deposit, and fixed deposit. And there are some advancing loans like car loans, short term loans, medium term, long term. In agency functions like collection of checks, payment of rents, others. And in general utility, credit cards, safer lockers facility and others. So banks play a crucial role in our branches of commerce. Advertising. Advertising fills the knowledge gap. The exchange of goods and services is possible only if producer can bring the products to the consumer. Means a producer can know what the goods are coming in the view of the consumers, then only the consumer can buy that products. The advertising is most important to the consumers. Consumer can know about the goods which manufactures by manufactured brands, then only can consumer buy it. There are some advertisements like TV, magazines, radio, newspapers, etc. And the conclusion, trade plays an important role in the development of the nation, and the commerce is a very important concept in our day-to-day life. Every common person starts a day with his commerce only, because when he wake up he should want to take brush, but the brush comes from the industry, it is from also a commerce. And the trade helps in raising the economic growth and employment generation by improving resources allocation and economy wide efficiency. Trade also helps in improving the balance of payments by strengthening the competitiveness of the external sectors and expanding exports, etc. And trade commerce, it connects with buying and selling of goods and services. An individual he can earn a profit by this undertaking this activity. A trader can only produce goods from producer to consumer. In trade there are two types, home trade and foreign trade. Home trade is also known as internal trade or domestic trade. Home trade is carried on within the boundaries of a nation. Both the buyer and seller belongs to the same country. In home trade there are two types, wholesale trade and retail trade. Wholesale trade, it implies buying and selling of goods in a large quantities, is known as wholesale trade. A trader who engage in wholesale trade are called wholesalers. And retail trade, it implies buying and selling of goods in a small quantities. It is the final stage of the distribution. Trader who engage in retail trade is called retailers. And foreign trade is also known as external trade or international trade. Foreign trade, it implies buying and selling of goods and services among two or more countries through international airports and seaports. In foreign trade there are basically three types: import trade, export trade, import trade. Import trade means it implies buying goods from one country is known as import trade. For example, India buys tea from United Kingdom. And export trade means sell goods to the another countries is known as export trade, means exporting goods to the another countries. For example, Iran export iron to India. And entry trade Entrepot trade means buying goods from one country for the purpose of selling them to another country is known as entrepot trade. And next one is H2 trade. H2 trade means trade or exchange or distribution of goods and services involves several difficulties. That difficulties are removed by some auxiliaries. That auxiliaries is known as H2 trade. H2 trade involves transport, communication, warehousing, insurance, banking and advertising. Transport, there is a vast distance between center of production and center of consumption, which creates huge difficulty for distribution of goods and services smoothly and timely. The difficulty is removed by transport. Transport creates place utility. So there are such transports like road, air, water. The transportation in commerce, it creates less smoothly time in time of goods and services of exchange. And second one is communication. Communication means a producer who exchange information from one person to another is known as the communication. It can oral be in writing also. There are some communications like telephone, email, video conference, like we express our information to another. And there are so many types of communications like verbal communications and non-verbal communications. In verbal communication, there are two types: oral communication and written communication. Oral communication, nothing but we express our view by speaking, and written communication means we express our views in the written form, is known as written communication. And after warehousing is nothing but there is a time gap between production and the consumption. In other words, goods which are produced at one time, they are not consumed completely at the same time. It means, for example, the agriculture commodities like wheat and rice, they consumed throughout the year, but they demanded only particular seasons. And another example, we see umbrella and woolen cloths are produced throughout the year, but they demanded only particular seasons like rainy and winter. Means goods stored in warehouses when they get demanded. Here in warehouses, it creates time utility, and there are so many types of warehouses like government warehouses, private warehouses, public warehouses, bonded warehouses, distribution warehouses, and etc. So this when the goods are stored in warehouses, they will get utility and demanded. After warehouses, there is next one is insurance. Insurance reduces the problem of risk. Risk may be due to fire, theft, accident or any other natural calamity. And there are so many features of insurance like risk sharing device, risk measurement device, cooperative device, risk protective device, etc. And there are also so many types of insurance: life insurance, fire insurance, theft insurance, etc. So the insurance also reduce the problem of finance also. The insurance companies know the risks. They try to reduce the problem of customers. And fifth one is banking. Banking solves the problem of finance. It provides short-term and long-term finance to the businessman. The businessman may also buy and sell amount in the bank. In banking there are two types, primary banks and secondary banks. In primary banks there are some accepting of deposits like recurring deposit, saving deposit, fixed deposit and current deposit. These deposits are deposited in the banks of the customers. And second, in primary functions there are some advancing loans provided by the bank like overdraft, cash credit and discounting of bills of exchange. These facilities are extended by the bank to the customers of banks, and banks also provide such loans to the customers in form of like car loans, short term loans, medium loans, long term loans. And secondary functions. Secondary functions there are two types, agency functions and general utility functions. The banks also provide such agency functions like collection of checks, payment of rent and others. And second one is, the sixth one is advertising. Advertising, it fills the knowledge gap. The exchange of goods and services is possible only if producer can bring the products to the consumers. Means the consumer know the products, then only he can buy such goods. The goods which are producers can bring the products, then the consumer can buy it. The goods which are the producers which are produced a goods in the industry, they give definitely advertisement. Such advertisements like TV, magazines, newspapers, etc. The consumers know that products which are manufactured by manufacturers by the advertising. And the conclusion is, trade play an important role in development of the nation, and trade helps in raising the economic growth and allocation of economic wide efficiency. Means the trade also helps in improving the balance of payments by extending the competitiveness of the external sector and expanding exports and efficient imports substitutes. And commerce is most important in our life. So many peoples are know about the commerce. The commerce start, a common person a day starts with commerce only. Commerce commerce improve the economic growth and economic development. It is no very easy concept to learn in our generals, and it is a very crucial subject to know what going in our surroundings by the commerce only. And trade helps in raising the economic growth. Means the transportations, communications, these activities, then these activities included in commerce, then the economic growth will automatically grow. And there are so many countries but they don't know commerce. The commerce is extending, and commerce is an important role in the developing and development nations. It also improve the economic growth and economic development. The commerce is a basic subject of the economics, and it plays an important role of the new generation. It is a and trade plays an important role of the role of development of the nation. It can also helps the rising improving resources allocations and economic wide. Trade also helps in improving the balance of payments by strengthening the competitiveness of the external sector and expanding exports and efficient import substitutes. It is very important to know as the trade plays an important role. A trader who distribute goods from one place to another is known as trader. He can only gain by profit by this trading. And thank you for this golden opportunity.